Hello, everybody, and welcome into a trade deadline reaction video here at the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Matthew Zator, and I am joined in by Jacob Strozyk of the Buffalo Sabres writing team here at the Hockey Writers. Jacob, I mean, were you expecting a trade like this? Casey Mittelstadt going to the Colorado Avalanche for Bowen Byram, 1-for-1, definition of a hockey trade, right? I mean, two players, both NHL players. One in Middlestad is obviously a bit, I don't know, Middlestad older than Byram, I think.
Yeah, Millsap's
Yeah.
25, Byram's 22.
Yeah. So, I mean, it is a hockey trade. You got both sides getting something. Uh, First of all, your reaction to this trade, lots happening in the NHL today. You'd think it's deadline day. It's not. It's like a couple days away. But what do you think about this trade for the Sabres?
I mean, I'll be honest. I know we talked about it before. I wasn't fully expecting Kevyn Adams to make a big splash trade in general, but this is the definition of a big splash trade. He traded their top point scorer for this season in Casey Mittelstadt for a young top four defenseman, which is something that I was really hoping for. I've been saying it for at least the start of this season, if not at the end of last season. I was like, if you're not going to re-sign Mittelstadt, trade him and get something of value. Get a player that's actually going to be able to make a difference on your roster. And I can't say I'm disappointed in the return at all. Byram's a good two-way defenseman. The only, you know, issue or maybe concern you can say is the injury history with concussions or whatever, but he's been fairly healthy throughout the past 2 years. So I wouldn't say it's a massive concern. It's a mild concern more than anything. I like the trade overall, and I really want to see how it's going to play out based off of how these teams are built. I think it's kind of interesting now.
Mm-hmm. Well, the thing is like Byram played 55 games, the most he's played in an NHL season. Uh, 8 goals, 20 assists. I mean, decent production. Last season, he had 24 points, 10 goals in 42 games. Previous seasons, I mean, yeah, he's dealt with the concussions, and this is his first season where he hasn't dealt with a lot of injuries. I believe he's been hurt. He hasn't played the full season. He's pretty close, I believe.
There's a couple
I
minor ones.
Yeah, a couple minor game. I mean, sitting out a couple games, so nothing major. So it looks like that concussions are past him. But the thing is, that can happen anytime. A bad
Mhm.
hit, uh, and it's unfortunate because he has had a couple already. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. Because he is. He's only 22 years old. He's got a lot of potential still in the NHL, and he's already shown quite a bit for how young he is. And he is that prototypical offensive defenseman. He can be a two-way guy too. Unfortunately, he doesn't fill that need of a right shot defenseman that
No.
the Sabres have. So they've added another left-hand guy to already Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. So they've got a pretty good, a really strong left side. The thing is do you think Byram will play on his offside? Or are they going to move Dahlin over? They're going to move, Power? What do you see going forward with this defense group? Because, or are you just going to see them go that left side on every pairing?
No, I don't think he would get his own. I think he'd get paired with either Power or Darlene, or another idea that I was considering, because Granado likes to, in certain scenarios, put Darlene and Power together. So maybe this is his opportunity to stick the two of them together as a pairing on a more regular basis, because they both kind of interchange between both sides and it doesn't really seem to affect the other. And then maybe Byram runs the second pair with Yokiharu or Clifton or whoever he decides is the best to pair him with. But it gives them more options, especially with Matthias Samuelsson still out for the rest of the season. Now that spot is filled up with somebody who can actually hold that position and play it well. So it gives a little bit more flexibility on the back end, I think.
Yeah, because Byram has on the Avalanche, he played quite a bit of
Mhm.
minutes. And that, he's obviously playing behind Cale Makar. He's going to be playing behind Rasmus Dahlin now.
Mhm.
So he's not going to have to run the show, and that's probably a good thing for
Mhm.
him. So I think it's a good trade too. I mean, it's something that kind of came out of left field. I don't think Byram was rumored to be on any trade block for the Avalanche. Obviously, they've wanted a second line center for a long time since Nazem Kadri left. On Mittelstadt, do you believe that is something that he can do for the Avalanche? I mean, he was playing in the top six in Buffalo. What do you see him bringing to the Avalanche? Is he that second line center for them, or do they still need to be looking?
No, I think he fills that role perfectly for them. He doesn't have to be the guy. He's not going to have to jump up into their first line and, try and be Nathan MacKinnon because he doesn't have to be. And he can just be himself, the good playmaking second line center that he can play. He can play wing as well. So if they have someone else that maybe fills that spot, they can use him there. He's very usable on a power play. He's strong in the corners. This season has been very noticeable for his strength that he's been showing. He does a lot of work along the walls, and he's very, very tough to knock off the puck. And I think that's going to play out really well in the West, especially for the Avalanche in the playoffs. Maintaining possession is Mittelstadt's game this season, and I think it's going to be huge for them. And I mean huge.
Yeah, and that's the one thing the Avalanche, they were, we were talking about them going after Henrique. They went after a guy that's going to be there long term, and that's probably a better thing for them rather than going for a guy that may only be here for this season or next. And he's part of the core now, I think.
For sure.
And he's a really good player. I mean, he's got 14 goals, 47 points this season. Pretty good production after that 59-point season last season.
Mhm.
He's trending up, and I think the Sabres did a really good job moving him at this point for a really good player that, again, is going to be part of their core moving forward on defense. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a good deal for both sides. Win-win doesn't happen very often. These one-for-one trades, but this one seems to be a win for both sides.
Yeah, and to Buffalo's credit, they have a lot of depth down the middle. They have a lot of players that they're really looking to try and cram up into the lineup, and they're struggling to find spots for those players. Even with injuries, eventually Jack Quinn's going to come back and he's going to need a spot in the top six. They've been trying to move Peyton Krebs up in the lineup for a long time now, but he's been blocked by the fact that he's overshadowed by Mittelstadt, Cousins, Thompson, and even Paterka if he was going to play
Mhm.
wing. So it's tough for him to move up into that spot. With Mittelstadt getting moved, now Krebs should hopefully get that opportunity to jump up to the third line and be in a more offensive role rather than that fourth line bruising checking role,
Mhm.
which he's good at, but I think he'd be better in an upward moving position. And looking towards next season, it gives them a spot to maybe bring up a Yuri Kulik, bring up a Matt Savoy to put into their lineup on that third line basis to break them into the NHL like they would hope.
Mhm. Yeah, it does give a lot more flexibility in the system too. You got Matt Savoy as center. You got uh, Zach Benson is a center. I don't know if he's going to be playing center for his career because of his size,
He
but
plays mostly wing now.
yeah. So that was anticipated for him. It's a good deal. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any problems with it at all. It does create a lot more for them on the forward group. Their defense gets better. Obviously not this season. I mean, they are probably not making the playoffs. It is pretty sure that they probably won't be. And Byram is signed till 24 after the 2024-25 season at 3.85, which is not a bad contract either.
No.
So yeah, all in all, a good deal for the Sabres. Now, before I let you go there, what do you see the Sabres doing now? Is this it, or they got some other guys? They got Greenway has been talked about. You got Kyle Pozo has kind of been in the trade rumors too. Do you see Kevyn Adams doing anything else before March 8th?
I would hope that there's still a couple of moves left out of him. For one, you have to move Eric Johnson, get him not off the team for any toxic reasons or whatever. Just move him along because you want somebody of his age to have another shot at another Stanley Cup and to keep going at the tail end of his career. Move him to a playoff team, get whatever you can in return, even if it's a sixth, seventh round pick, who cares? Just move him along. You have plenty of defensemen you can keep moving up. Uh, Okposo, I think, is an interesting topic. I'm not fully convinced that he'll get moved because he likes it here. Kevyn Adams likes having him here and likes having him around the group. So if he gets traded, it's solely because somebody made him an offer that he was like, yeah, I kind of got to take that.
Yeah.
I don't think he's just going to toss him away for a low round pick. And if he does, it'll be because Okposo went, yeah, I want to go there. I want to see if I can win something there.
Mhm.
That it would more be at his request than anything else. So I don't see much movement. The only other player I could see Adams moving out would be Victor Olofsson. He
Mm.
hasn't really had much of a role on this team anymore since he kind of lost his spot to Zach Benson. So moving him out, giving him a new place before he becomes a UFA, I think is a good idea. Just move along. I don't think it's any more big moves on the horizon, but a few smaller ones just to kind of clean house and get ready for the
Mm.
offseason.
Oh, you never know, though. I mean, this one wasn't anticipated. I know you
That's
mentioned
true.
Mittelstadt. I know you mentioned Mittelstadt in our preview show that he could potentially be moved, but I
Hmm.
don't think anyone anticipated a guy like Byram coming back in return for him, because Byram's one of the better young defensemen in the NHL. And he, I don't know if the Avalanche was just, we got to move on. We need that second line center because they do have a pretty good defense core even without him. It's an interesting. It was an interesting trade. So I mean, some of these surprises come around the deadline too. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with the Sabres before the clock strikes 3
Yeah, three.
on 3. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of, okay, I'm not noon in my time, but yeah,
Right,
3
noon
o'clock.
your time.
3 o'clock on the 8th. So thanks, Jacob, for coming on and talking about this trade. And maybe we'll have you on again. We'll see. We'll see what other trades come about. But make sure to check out all of our trade articles. We have news pieces, reaction, trade grades. After every trade, there's already one out for the Byram Mittelstadt deal. So check that out. Make sure to following us on YouTube here. We're going to be putting out these reaction videos as well. Got some full recap episodes coming up too. So make sure checking all that out. And until next time, we'll see you on another reaction video on the Hockey Writers YouTube channel here.